Hey there, YouTube. Well-rounded prepper here. Just wanted to, I guess start off by giving you a change of scenery. Just got done putting back some sugar to go to our extended pantry. So just a little bit of a different background there. I want to encourage everyone as part of their prepping to educate themselves. Particularly educate themselves on history, recent and far. So one of the things that I have done at any time I've been confronted with a particular threat or particular concern is I research. I research what it looks like when these kinds of things happen, the kinds of things that people do to deal with whatever the particular situation is, and ways to kind of fortify yourself against that. So obviously, I think one of the first things that comes to mind would be, in terms of food shortages, the Great Depression. That's a great place to look. There's a lot of really good documentaries on YouTube. They're not very long. They show you what your grandparents, great-grandparents went through during those times. And not only was World War II happening, there was also a Dust Bowl that happened around the same time. So there was a lot of famine. Food was being rationed. So seeing what that looked like and seeing the long food lines because of the Great Depression as well, just really not only gives you things to consider, how you want to hedge against something like that, but it shows you what people have gone through and what they've survived. But I encourage you to not only look to events that took place in, far past, but also look at recent events as well. I know there have been a number of nations in the past decade that have had their economies tank. And we've seen what that looks like. I'm thinking particularly of Venezuela because I paid a lot of attention to Venezuela and the things that they went through there. Their economy tanked literally overnight. They looked just like the United States, prosperous, people partying, everybody happy, making money, to the next day their funds were limited to what they could take out of the bank. And then their money was practically worthless. Their inflation started went off with a boom, and then it slowly crept up to just ridiculous amounts. I mean, when I was listening to the news on it, which there's a lot of YouTube news stories about Venezuela, I encourage you to look at that. Talking about, a dozen eggs for $120 and a gallon of Tide for $36 and a gallon of milk for, I think, when was it last? I thought like $12 and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really not been pretty to watch. And the people there, the stories that they have, the things that they've had to go through. They had markets that were selling rotten meat and that were selling just the bones. I mean, people were taking whatever they could get. Their country ran out of medicines. And whenever someone could get medicine, there was like no insurance to cover anything. And since their money is worthless, they had to choose between that and eating. And there's just so much that we can learn from that. I think about wild harvesting is a great skill to have. Knowing what you can eat and what you can't eat is really important, especially depending on how bad things get. Now, obviously, this is like a real bad scenario. But pride goeth before the fall, folks. Don't be duped into thinking that can't happen here in the United States. It certainly can. We are not immune. So, wild harvesting, I was thinking about a story that I had seen from Venezuela. A family was harvesting roots. I mean, they were hungry. They were eating grass, and they were harvesting roots to eat. They picked the wrong thing. Their child ate the wrong thing and passed away painfully, I might add, because they didn't have access to hospitals and healthcare. I hope and pray that it doesn't get that bad here. Not really super optimistic, but we'll see. Thinking about things that you can learn, things that you can do now, learning to eat less. People that, generally speaking, people that lived back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, they didn't eat like we do today to begin with. And they didn't have things that were so high in sugar and high in fats anyway. And thinking about Venezuela again, a prosperous nation that overnight tanked and their money became worthless. Remembering a story from there of a mother and father who, at the time, I'm sure it's much worse now if they haven't gotten out of the country, but they were taking turns eating dinner. Like one night, mom would eat dinner. One night, the next night, dad would eat dinner. They were taking turns so that their kids could eat. And when your kids are hungry, you will do anything. If you're any kind of a good parent, you will do anything that you can to see their needs met. And they did. I don't have any idea how they're doing today, but that's a hard scenario. And something, again, people here in the United States currently do. I'm sure there are a lot of people here that struggle financially, that are poor, that don't have the money or the ability to stock back food, to store back food. So that is a thing that some people here experience, but a majority of people here in the United States just don't have they don't have a clue. And I'm talking about myself too. I have never, praise God, I've never been in a situation where I've been starving. Been in a situation before where we were food deprived, but that's because we were, my husband and I were young and financially we were not very stable. And there were times where I didn't know how we were going to get groceries, but God provided. So, just in general, we've had it really, really good here. And hearing other stories from other places and from other people that have not and how they've gotten through can really help now. And especially now, like back to what I was saying a second ago about getting used to eating less food. Intermittent fasting is like this huge thing. Now, obviously, little public PSL here, talk to your doctor, especially if you have blood sugar issues or any other kind of major issues. Talk to your doctor. Don't just randomly go out and intermittent fast because the well-rounded prepper told you to. But people, when they are sleeping, they're not eating, right? Unless they sleepwalk and eat, which I guess can happen. But generally speaking, we are not eating for 7-8 hours out of the night. And then if you can extend into the day, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and then a little bit more every few days or whatever you can, it allows your stomach time not only to kind of reset, but it shrinks your stomach. Whereas when people normally eat large portions, like they go back for 2 plates because the food is just super yummy, their stomach stretches out and holds a larger shape. So then you need more food to fill that, to feel full. And then it kind of stretches more and kind of comes and goes. And But if you get used to eating smaller meals, your stomach will shrink. It will you won't be as hungry, or it won't take as much food to fill you because your stomach will be smaller. And it will kind of prepare your body now for potential food shortages and potential loss of access to food, depending on how bad things get. So, long story short, I encourage everybody. I love educating myself, and I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to learn about things that have happened in the past, learn about things that are happening now, hear people's stories that are happening now, so that you can kind of get yourself mentally and even emotionally in a place where you can put yourself in their shoes and say, what would I do in this situation? How would I handle this situation? And then take a step back and look at your cupboards, look at your fridge, your freezer, your pantry, whatever you have. Do I have enough that I feel like I could sufficiently live off of for a while if grocery stores don't get deliveries because there's a diesel shortage, or if people have bought up everything and there's really nothing left, or if inflation really hits in and eggs are $120 a dozen? Do I have enough that I can kind of fall back on? And am I ready for that kind of a situation? That's something else, is really just putting yourself in those situations mentally so that you can answer that question for yourself. And think now, like, what can you adjust? What kind of changes can you make to what you're doing these days? Is it a diet change, a lifestyle change, a financial change, whatever it is? So knowledge is key, folks. I strongly encourage that. This is a longer video than I've ever shot. So hopefully I can start keeping it under this amount of time. But in any case, just wanted to encourage that and hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless you, and talk to you later.